Good morning and welcome to Morning Moments. I am so glad that you came and joined us this morning for this broadcast. We have a filmmaker here, a young filmmaker, Jared Michael Leon, and I am so glad to have him here and tell us about what he does and why he does it. And Jared, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And where are you located at? What?
I'm in Northern Virginia, like 20 miles south of DC.
Okay, not too far from me here in Virginia Beach. Not too far.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
good. Tell me about yourself. What kind of industry are you in, or what kind of work that you do, and why do you do it? What got you involved in this?
Well, it started out by mistake. I kind of, you know, was in church for a long time, and then you go through that phase where you're like, I'm done, I'm out of here. So then you go out to church, and then you realize, oh man, I think I need to go back. So I went back to church, and I was kind of trying to, figure out what I wanted to do. You're like young, and you're like don't quite know what direction to go in. So I went back to the church, and my mom just, hey, why don't you, join this ministry called the media ministry? You could, do some cameras or something. And I was just like, well, whatever. So I joined the ministry, and I took to it. Like I didn't know if I would. I just thought I didn't. I thought it was cool too because you could sit down, like you could just sit behind the camera and just fall asleep if you needed to. But then I I actually started liking it. Like it was like, oh man, and figuring out the terms and how the camera works, and then doing my own stuff on the side and figuring out how to use my camera after I bought my own. And my mom was doing the plays actually, so um, she was doing like all the passion plays and all that big stuff. They had animals and 150 actors dancing around. So she kind of inspired me too, because she was always just doing stuff like just super creative stuff in the church, and just God was just using her like crazy. And I was like, let me get in on that. um, yeah, I mean, it's just she just kind of we just kind of meshed in a way because the media ministry, you have to record the plays. So I would record the plays, and then it became, hey, can you do like an edit of this thing for the play, like do like an intro video? And I would like do an intro video, and people liked it. I was just like, oh, maybe I'm good at this, and that's how I started editing too. And yeah, it just kept evolving until now. I guess I'm a full blown filmmaker who just stumbled into it by mistake because his mom told him to join a ministry in the church.
I think of how often I've heard through the years somebody stumbled into ministry, and on the way to finding your purpose, your plan, your future, your hope, and you may have been surprised, but God was never surprised by His plan for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was definitely surprised. It was a crazy journey. It was a great journey, and it taught me a lot of things. And I feel there's more in store. This is only the beginning.
You have your own production company now too. What's the name of that?
It's JCO Productions, but we do business as Real to Real.
Reel to Reel. And
Yeah.
you've done some productions, some short films, and have you done long full films too?
Yeah. So we actually, my mom, after like the fifth play at the church, she was like, "I feel God is leading us to do movies," and I was just like, "What? We don't know how to shoot a movie. How are we gonna do that?" And she's like, "Well, you are in the media ministry," and I was like, "Well, that's totally different." Like, she's like, "You'll figure it out." So I figured it out, I guess, through YouTube, do a bunch of YouTube deep searches on what a 180 rule is, and what a shutter speed is, and the f-stop and all that stuff. And bought a camera, bought a bunch of equipment, lights, and then she started realizing I was serious, and she's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm doing. You told me that God told you this, so we're doing this, right?" And then she's like, "Oh, I guess we got to do it now." So we jumped on board. I forgot the date. She knows the date by heart when we first started on the new movie. It's like July 14th or something, 2000 something, 11. And we started on that day filming our first movie called The Basement. And yeah, it was a crazy ride.
I was mentioning to you when we were just chatting before we did this recording that God doesn't always call the equipped, but he does equip who he calls.
Yeah,
So sometimes in the journey, he says, I need somebody, not their ability, but their availability,
right.
and finding the willing vessel. And then you go and learn what you need to learn to fulfill God's call for you. And this is quite inspirational to hear that God put you in the direction first, and then you had to learn the process,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It was definitely learning on the job,
I,
basically.
I heard a saying one time that says your direction is more important than your speed. So some people are going fast, but they're fast in the wrong direction.
Right.
But once you get direction from God, then the speed of it's not as important because you're just plugging in and just doing what God says on a day-to-day basis, no matter how long it takes. And filmmaking can be very long, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, everybody in this world looks for that instant gratification and having it done in just a matter of a minute. But I've talked to so many filmmakers that say that the process is so long
Yep.
in getting something done and getting it produced, distributed, edited, directed. The actors, there's so many moving parts to it. The more you do, isn't it?
Definitely. And they like they say, the overnight success in filmmaking, there's definitely not no overnight success. It's a lot of hard work just not seen, just like how God works in people's lives and prepares them in private. And then, when they explode, they're like, oh, they're the overnight success, but they don't see the long years
Yes.
that God has been preparing them for
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's and you really you got to put your time in somewhere before God gives you success, either through studies or through prayer or through whatever God's calling you. And I really love your story of how God called you, but you then pursued and learned it on your own. Uh, Sometimes people say, "Well, I just can't do it," and they're not putting the time in on themselves of what God's called them to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he says, faith without works is dead. I mean, you got to do the work too, and not
That's
just, I'm just going to make a movie without even trying. It's going to make itself. You're like, no, you
yeah,
gotta, you gotta have the skills to do it as
abs-
well.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, this has been quite inspirational, Jared, to hear a young man that's got a call in his life. And sometimes we think the calling of God in our life has got to be full-time ministry behind the pulpit
Right.
or the calling of God. But God calls people in every walk of life, and we got to know what our calling and our purpose is, and then we've got to be willing to do the work to fulfill that call. And what I'm gonna do is post in the comment section down below your film industry, your film contacts, how people can get a hold of you and get a hold of your production company. And also we're going to put in all of the credits of things that you've done in the past so they could see what you've done in the past and what you're doing in the future. But more important than that, when you think of Jared and filmmaking, I want my audience to think of Jared individually and pray for him. Pray that God would continue to use him, and the best is yet to come. And there is a future and a hope for him and his mother as they continue this production company. That God would put them in the right place at the right time for the right people to have the right movie, and that God would continue to bless them with their availability as he is, as I said. Thank you so much, Jared, for sharing with me this morning.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right. We're going to continue to keep you in prayer and continue to check on you and make sure that, make sure that we do what we can to lift up each other on a daily basis in prayer. And thank you so much. And I want to thank each and every one of you for sharing this interview with others, and showing up to just watch another episode of Morning Moments. God bless you and have a great day.